Hey, I'm Noah Watkins, and I'm in Old Salem, North Carolina right now, in Winston-Salem, North Carolina. My historical marker is Salem Square, which is a part the central area of Old Salem. Old Salem was a town constructed in 1766 by the Moravians, who came from Germany. They came from Germany to spread Christianity in the New World. They initially had an area called Wachovia, which they began constructing in 1753, which was a large area of land. But Old Salem was constructed in 1766 as the center point of Wachovia and was the capital of that area. So I'm going to show you 3 points of Old Salem. Down there is Winkler's Bakery, which is famous for Moravian sugar cake. They use round ovens to make the cake, and it's still being used today. I'm also going to show you this pump that was used. It was originally located in the southwestern part of the town near a cistern, but it got moved. So now it's right there, but it's used just to show kind of the significance of the square and the central point of Old Salem. Down there, past those cars, is the tavern, which is also still used today, where people would come together and eat, and they would drink alcohol and everything. So Salem Square, it was supposed to be kind of like the central area of the town of Old Salem. This is kind of a new idea for planned communities because nobody had ever really had like a central area where things would be built around it. So houses were built around it, schools were built around it, everything in the city was around it. There's one walkway through the center of the square. It's diagonal. This fence goes all the way around it. It's just an open green area. People would come here to meet. On Saturdays, the building right here, they would come and sell things like a market, sort of like a general store. They would sell meat that came from other areas around Old Salem. So I'm standing here in front of Winkler's Bakery. It was built in 1800. It's also still being used today. The bakers that started here in 1800 weren't very good, and they got kicked out. They hired another baker from Pennsylvania named Christian Winkler, who moved here from Pennsylvania in 1808 with his 6 kids. He ended up being a really good baker and staying here, and his descendants stayed here till 1926, about that time, and the bakery is still being used today, which is crazy. They use the dome ovens, which the tavern also uses. They still use wood to bake, and they still bake them today. It's still an active bakery today. They bake every day except on holidays usually, where they start up the ovens in the morning and they bake until about lunchtime, and then people can come in and buy the bread, sugar, Moravian cake, and all different types of things. So I'm gonna take you to take you outside to the back where the oven is. Show you the dome oven, which is right here. It's about 200-year-old oven that they still use today. You can't really see inside where the dome is, but see the wood out back as well that they use. But just kind of like the architecture of the oven used 200 years ago, that's still being used today. So I'm here standing at this pump in front of Salem Square that still uses a cistern in Salem. In 1766, when Salem was created, the square was actually originally like a couple blocks northwest, but in 1778 it was moved back to this location, its original location, in order to the water in the town, and for elevation reasons, so the water could flow downwards. And this pump was placed here at Salem Square for just for that accomplishment of moving the square back. So it's still drinkable today, so I'm gonna try some. Great. So we're standing here at the tavern in Old Salem. It was used 200 years ago in Old Salem. Actually, it's still used today. It was built in 1784. Yeah, that's right, 1784, and then it was added to what you see today in 1816 as a tavern and boarding house. In the bottom, it was used as a tavern, and people would eat and dine there and drink alcohol. And in the top, it was a boarding house where people would stay overnight, kind of like a hotel. But yeah, so the staff today, they still serve food, and they still people still dine in here, and they wear costumes. They wear Moravian costumes, and at night they eat by candlelight in small rooms, which is kind of like an intimate experience, kind of like romantic, sort of like that. In the back, they actually use the same kind of dome ovens and Wrinkler bakery that are still wood fired. And that they're still used in the tavern as well. If we walk down here, they have the United States flag back when the Moravians were around. It has 15 stars on it, if you didn't notice, which is how many states that were part of the United States after the Revolutionary War. So I really enjoyed my time today in Old Salem, North Carolina. One of the few active historical sites still available in North Carolina and across the country. I think I've really added to my understanding of American history and how people lived back in the 1800s and 1700s. Old Salem is just a really neat, small community, one of the first planned communities in North America that's still active today, and that you can come and see. So come out and see Old Salem, North Carolina.